Welcome to Camp San Luis Obispo, the Guardsman's home away from home. The California Guardsmen from the 160th Regiment, Los Angeles' own, arrived for the 1949 summer encampment at Camp San Luis Obispo. This area is recognized by military experts as being one of the best training sections in the United States. It was here during World War II that 9 U.S. Army divisions were trained. In fact, on these 4,000 acres, more than 250,000 men received their training. The famed 40th departed from here shortly after Pearl Harbor for coastal defense duty and eventual shipment to the Pacific Theater. Now, let's take a look at these same men from the 40th during their 2 weeks encampment. Here is the Service Club, a favorite off-duty hangout that the gang back at the office would have to see to believe. Here's where you can get everything from Cookes to the new Bear State shoulder patches. Yes, this Service Club has everything, including a strong sense of companionship. Here's the Post Chapel. From the first, the American Armed Forces have never neglected divine worship. A strong sense of religion is the fighting man's staunchest ally in peace as well as in war. And here's the Shrine of the Centurion. The cross was erected in 1941 by troops of the 40th Division. And the old adobe ranch house was spared by the engineers because of its attractiveness and its historic value. Hey, how about that ball game? All details and no play, you know, make Joe a dope. So we developed some pretty stiff inter-unit competition. And some of the games look pretty professional in baseball, the king of sports. But there's no sight to compare with the mustering in on P-Day and H-Hour, that golden moment when you learn that it all comes true about earn while you learn. Yes, sir, that's one roll call nobody misses, payday. It may be, as they say, better to give than receive. What you receive for 15 days of good outdoor exercise isn't hard to take, brother. And as for giving, let's stroll over to the canteen and look for a souvenir to take home to her. General O'Sullivan and some of the state headquarters staff officers approach. Oh, we don't want to forget the boxing matches, even if some of the glove throwers would like to. These are under the direction of Captain Jimmy Wilson, Division Athletic Instructor, a well-known fight referee. The matches are much more exciting than punishing, and so far Joe Lewis hasn't been challenged. Just the same, you have to be able to stay a while. 3 guesses who he bet his wad on. You know, I'll bet none of the fellows back in his office is in even half as good condition. Oh, we're not saying that 2 weeks will do it, but man, it sure helps. And if you figure it's too much work to be in the ring clouting, there's always room for one more in the cheering section. Now then, let's take a look and see how much it took to keep these active men filled up during their stay. Here are men from the Division Quartermaster Company unloading meats from the refrigerated lockers. Top-grade meats carefully boned and then frozen. And, of course, we use a wide variety of cereals, canned goods, desserts, and other staples. You know, Napoleon once said an army travels on its stomach, and he wasn't talking about crawling. Yes, sir, a lot of strong men carried a lot of good food to keep us filled. And the guardsman who didn't eat his fill had to be deaf, dumb, blind, and have 2 broken arms. In between eating, there's the extensive and intensive military training. Take this rehearsal in loading and unloading troop-carrying planes, for instance. These are California Guardsmen taking a course in air transportability, loading equipment, ammunition, personnel, even jeeps into this big C-82, the flying boxcar. And the reward, a wonderful sky ride for a job well done. You know, just the sight of one of those babies taking off with a defiant roar makes many a man proud of the California National Guard. Here they are, back again after a breathtaking bird's-eye view of beautiful Camp San Luis Obispo. The ride all over, the men now disembark from the big C-82 flying boxcar. Time now for the modern courses in combat firing. And here's the truck to take us to the transition range. And here's really the last word in training. You learn how to handle yourself and your weapons, and you learn soon. And you fire from under, over, and through all sorts of cover. This is no set your sights to 200 yards and lie down. This is practical training from realistically worked out posts, from a culvert, from a foxhole. From a log barricade, from a rooftop, from a foxhole again, from a fallen log, and through a window, and even from a jeep. And all the time you're observing rigorous range safety rules and regulations because you've been trained in them until it's second nature to you. How about those infantry scouting problems? This is where you're sent over simulated tough terrain. Simulated? It's the real McCoy, carrying a full pack and with instructions to take advantage of any natural cover you can find. Yes, this is real training. Cross the roads in a hurry. Duck behind even a blade of grass. Yes, you go right on taking it until the end of the problem. And after the problem's over, you have a big satisfied grin and you can say, mission accomplished. Here's a session now with Captain J.C. Ladd, Assistant Division Chemical Officer, and his baby, the flamethrower. Flamethrowing, Captain Ladd informs us, is just about as old as fire itself, but it will never cease to be an awesome spectacle. The mix, he tells us, is what might be called jellied gasoline, a substance known as napalm. This is the first time on the nozzle for this soldier. Don't be nervous, soldier. This flamethrower can also be mounted on an M4 tank. Communications is essential for all operations. PFC Robert Reborn directs fire with a field phone. Here are linemen of the 40th Division Signal Company stringing more and more wire. Sergeant Leslie Lang, 223rd Infantry, operates this Jeep phone. And now here's the 4-2 mortar range used by the heavy mortar companies of the 40th Division. General Daniel H. Huddleston and Colonel Robinson are the officers who are observing. There goes a mortar. There's the burst on the impact area. There goes another, and as the general would say, nicely laid down, men. The purpose of the mortar, which is almost as old as gunpowder, is to toss or lob explosives over high walls and other natural or artificial obstacles where direct fire is impossible. You know, maybe it's a mean trick, but it sure makes the enemy on the other side of the wall wish he wasn't. There, the boys are really getting the range now. Here are some more shells being lobbed in a pattern on the rugged hills of the impact area. The barrage laid by the mortars is one of the most effective of protections for advancing troops and making the enemy keep their head down. Here now is defensive training as infantrymen of the 160th run a smoke screen. And here come the tanks. Look at those rugged babies roll, will you? These are a composite group from the 140th Tank Battalions and the 160th, the 223rd, and the 224th Infantry Regiments under Captain Tompkinson. You know, no small part of the modern California Guardsman's training is concerned with these mechanized monsters. In line with the famous Revolutionary War general's saying, the present-day Army has to get there first with the most. And not only are we trained to get there first, but we carry our most right with us. You can see the power as this baby rolls up into camera range. A big part of the most in firepower is machine guns. And here's a group approaching the machine gun range from Company M, 224th Regiment, with a 30 caliber machine gun. You know, it's not so easy to learn to handle and operate this weapon the way these men do it. But in the California National Guard, you learn because it's important to you and your country. The one basic requisite for handling all weapons from 30 caliber machine guns to these 155 millimeter giants of the 143rd Field Artillery from Santa Monica, Lieutenant Colonel T.C. Miller commanding, is teamwork. Everyone from the fire control director to sweating loaders has work to do in absolute harmony, and they do. Furthermore, every man knows the whole job so well, is so thoroughly trained, that he could manage to change to any other part of the operation in a split second if the need arose. Here they are now, loading the giant, ramming the charge home. Ram! Now tying on the lanyard. A few last-second adjustments. Standing by for the signal to fire. On the way! Look at that tremendous recoil. Fascinating, isn't it? Yes, teamwork, cooperation, close harmony, whatever you want to call it. That sense of being an important cog in a big wheel is the keynote in the spirit of the new California National Guard. And it helps in civilian life, too. Your boss knows that a guardsman trained to work with his squad, or battery, or group in the Guard isn't going to shuck that training off with his uniform. It's built in, you might say. And whether he says so or not, it's 10 to 1 the boss appreciates how well you work with the gang in the office. He's keeping an eye on you. Naturally, being a guardsman in good standing entails minor sacrifices. You give up an evening a week, 1 night out of 7, to attend training drills at the Armory. You go to camp 2 weeks every summer. But the things you get out of the Guard by far outweigh what you donate. Pay, uniforms, arms, physical fitness, and mental alertness. Not to mention congenial companionship, a big point. Yes, being a member of the Guard is like being a member of an exclusive club. You have to be good to get in the Guard, up to a certain physical standard of good mentality and clear moral record. On the way. Now then, these stubbier guns are 105s. Compared to the 155s, they may look tiny, but they have a mighty punch. This is the 981st Field Artillery Battalion under Lieutenant Colonel Charles A. Ott, Jr. C Battery is firing. Lieutenant W.H. Hoffman is giving commands to the crew of this 105, and again, teamwork is the big factor. On the way to the impact area out there at Hunter Liggett. And this is the bivouac area of Hunter Liggett, part of the getting out and living under battle conditions, or at least as nearly as it can be managed. And after the work out on the range, this food looks good. And as we showed before, it is good. Top grade of everything and plenty of it. A little bit of relaxing now before we go back to the range. This man takes his relaxing seriously. Whoops, sand fleas, no doubt. And for your safety, these lifter bags are prescribed to keep the water pure and cool. General David P. Hardy, commanding general of the 112th AAA Brigade, addressing National Guard Reserve officers at Camp Cooke. Colonel Heine of the Reserve officers listens. And here's a shot of the 112th Brigade headquarters, Colonels Johnson, Wood, and Holmes. Now then, let's look at the work done by Battery D of the 271st Antiaircraft Artillery, the 233rd Group from San Francisco. Well, looks like they're a little off. That motor-driven target's a tough thing to hit. Come on, men, the commander says. Let's crack that target. And now, as you can see, they're really closing in on it. They're using the pattern type of fire that we talked about a while ago. All set for another pattern barrage. And now look at those hits. No enemy can withstand that kind of accuracy. This is an instructional shot of a half-track mounting a Quad 50 from Battery C, the 140th AAA, commanded by Lieutenant Scarborough of Vista, California. And another Vistaite, Sergeant Charles E. Merriam, is operating the turret. These guns have tremendous firepower and equally tremendous maneuverability. They can fire overhead and around a 360-degree arc. These are the guns that commanded the utmost respect from the Germans during the last war, being referred to as the automatic artillery. And you can see what we mean when you see, as our cameraman did, these guns leveling down on you. Yes, when they drop down, you're ready to say, "Kamerad, Kamerad." These pictures are of the 718th AAA Gun Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Walter Stone commanding, and the 728th under Major George Anderson, executive officer. Here you see the gun crew of the number 3 gun making ready for firing practice. The men are readying themselves and the gun with preliminary maneuvers. And again you'll notice the teamwork, the smoothness of operation that comes about from men working together in a common cause. Here the sights are being checked and aligned. And our camera now looks right into the muzzle. You know, we lose more cameramen this way. The new brains of gunnery operation is shown here. This is the M9 Director. In the background, you can see part of the SCR 584 radar, invaluable in tracking targets in overcast. Now another very important measure. The ordnance crew checks the loading breech of the gun before firing begins. This is checked and rechecked for your safety. Now let's take a look at the result of all this preparation. There she goes. When you see that kind of firepower, you realize why the utmost preparation is necessary. Here's a crew at work calculating on this device to see what the effectiveness of fire has been, and then to improve it even more. Up on the tower, ever alert to see that no accidents occur, are vigilant watchers, among them Major George Anderson, the range officer. Once again, the big guns boom out, and again you can see the tremendous recoil, and again you realize that the federal government spends real money to see that the citizen soldiers of the California National Guard are tops. Of course, time now for chow. And look at that big piece of meat. And after this workout, he'll finish it too. Yes, when you come in off the range, you're really hungry. You've worked up the kind of an appetite that you don't get back at the office. You can see what kind of an appetite these California National Guardsmen have, and it's good food. Yes, if you don't mind, I think I will. Just one more slice, please. Top day of interest at camp this year started early the first Saturday morning. Now we're going to recreate this wonderful day for you, and here's General Mark Clark and his aides arriving at the camp gate. As he gets out, there goes a photog to make a record of his visit. And there's the 17-gun salute being fired by the big guns for the general. And now General Clark is officially welcomed to the camp by General O'Sullivan, commander of the California National Guard. Now in the company of General Huddleston, he inspects the guard, stopping from time to time to speak to the men, and particularly if they're wearing overseas ribbons. He steps over now to greet the division bandmaster, and then continues on his way for a look at Camp San Luis Obispo. At this moment, another car bearing Lieutenant Governor Goodwin Knight is drawing up to the camp gate. General O'Sullivan steps forward to greet him. Now in company with General Huddleston, he inspects the Guard of Honor and the band. General Huddleston tells the significance of this famous bird, which is as follows. This eagle, erected to commemorate the victory of Admiral Togo over the Russian fleet at the Battle of Tsushima, was seized by the 40th Infantry Division at the Japanese naval base Chinhae, Korea during the American occupation, and is dedicated here in the memory of the triumphs of the California National Guard over the forces of Imperial Japan. A permanent trophy now at Camp San Luis Obispo. And riding in jeeps, here come Generals Hardee and Clark with Lieutenant Governor Knight. Right behind with the standards is Colonel Oscar Jensen. And in the third jeep is General O'Sullivan. No jeep for General Huddleston. He's a dyed-in-the-wool tank man. And here he is now in the honor tank with Captain Tompkinson. As you see the General dismount, you'll realize that here is a born mechanized officer. Here's the beginning of one of the highlights of the 40th encampment. Lieutenant Governor Goodwin J. Knight and Major General C.D. O'Sullivan step from the reviewing stand for a decoration ceremony. The decorations to be given are heartwarming to every California Guardsman. Governor Knight pins the highest honor that can be bestowed by the state, the Medal of Merit, on Brigadier General David P. Hardee. Probably a few of the older Guardsmen are finding it difficult to swallow because General Hardee is retiring after this encampment, and this decoration is the culmination of valorous and honorable service that extends back to 1914. Now the Medal of Merit is pinned on another California Guardsman, Brigadier General Wallace Nickel, former 40th Division Artillery Commander, now retired. Now here comes the formal review, and to start it off we have the brisk and stirring rhythms of the 40th Division Band, led by Chief Warrant Officer Erwin Greger. And heading up the parade is smart-stepping Brigadier General Homer Eaton and his aides, followed closely by the 1st Battalion of the 160th Infantry, led by Colonel Donald M. Moore. Here's Lieutenant Colonel Harry F. Parker stepping out with the 2nd Battalion of the 160th. Here come the colors preceding the 223rd Infantry Regiment from Alhambra. Now from the 223rd comes the Heavy Mortar Company, the boys who are trained to break up many enemy snarls when the time comes. Here's the 224th, represented now by the 3rd Battalion as they step forward smartly to be reviewed. Proudly carrying the colors, here's the color guard for the 40th Artillery Division. The 271st Antiaircraft Artillery Automatic Weapons Battalion from San Francisco. And in the background you can see the beautiful profile of Mount Cerro Romalde. Across it swoops one of the ever-alert liaison planes of the 40th Division Artillery. Stand back now, because here comes packaged power from the 250th AAA Group. Here are the Quad 50s, their automatic artillery. The firepower becomes even more impressive as the 140th Anti-Aircraft Artillery swings into view, towing their 40mm anti-aircraft behind them. More of the boys who are trained to be tough on enemy planes, the 112th with their smashing 90s and 120s. Among the skipping hearts that see this group will be that of General Huddleston, as the composite mechanized composed of half-tracks and tanks from the Tank Battalion, Automatic Weapons Battalions, and the Recon Squadron comes into view looking like medieval knights, plus the armor of the super centuries. July 16th, a great day at Camp San Luis Obispo, and another great California National Guard review. All things do come to an end. And here's Lieutenant Bryce Briskin, 1st Battalion, 160th Infantry Regiment, loading the troop train for the ride back home. So there it is, 2 great weeks of sun, fun, and healthy exercise, and a brand new heads-up group of men from California's Citizen Soldier Army.